Those of us from around here have been haunted by this story for generations. I don't believe she was a bad person. Hey, Rosebud, find Mama. Every time I walk around this place, I can feel the dark history of this area and the sadness that permeates these hills. Regardless of the time of year or the time of day, this haunted place has a noticeable energy about it. I wouldn't want to walk around here at night, that's for sure. The spirits of this land are not at rest. They are unsettled and active, and maybe even angry. They say the ghost of a witch haunts these parts. She was a victim of the family feud between the Tilley Band and the Stanley Band. Her name was Elizabeth Jane Tilley Bradley. One night, an angry mob accused her of being a witch, so they abducted her from her home, dragged her up this hill, and hung her from a tree. That tree, right there. Some say they even burned her remains, and when the rope broke, they buried her where she fell, in an unholy burial, in a west-facing grave. To this day, many people visit this grave, bringing gifts and offerings. I'm going to lay a small piece of blue corn here out of respect to her Creek Indian heritage. I certainly don't want to be followed home by the ghost of Elizabeth Jane Bradley. This is her story. Elizabeth Jane Tilley was born in North Carolina in 1846. She was a descendant of the Creek Nation and practiced a form of folk healing that blended Native American methods with those of the white settlers. Both the Tilley family and the Stanley family had come from North Carolina, and the Stanleys are often considered the first white family to move here after the removal of the Cherokee Indians during the Trail of Tears. They are featured prominently in the history of this area. There is Stanley Gap, Stanley Creek, and the Stanley Settlement, as well as their family church and the ruins from many of their homes. The tragic story of Elisha Stanley, who was executed by Confederate soldiers, is on a historical marker near the site of his home. Across the river and over the ridge is where the Tilley family lived. Most of their settlement was destroyed by the creation of the Blue Ridge Lake, but some buildings still stand, most notably, and dare I say infamously, the Tilley Bend Baptist Church on Old Dial Road. You see, the Stanleys and the Tilleys had somehow rubbed each other the wrong way, and the bad blood turned into a full-on family feud. It came to a precipice one day when the Stanley family attacked the Tilley church, shooting into the church and killing several of the people inside, including the preacher and Elizabeth Jane's daughter. The Tilley Band retaliated in an attack on Stanley Gap, in which many members of the Stanley family were killed, including the husband of Elizabeth Jane's other daughter, who had married a Stanley boy. Grief-stricken from the loss of her sister and her husband, she went into early labor. Both mother and child were lost in the childbirth. In this short amount of time, Elizabeth Jane Bradley had lost both of her daughters and her grandchild. This devastating loss enraged Miss Elizabeth Jane to the point that she conjured a curse on both families. Apparently, her curse was strong because over the next year, every child born to the Tilleys or the Stanleys was either stillborn or passed away shortly after birth. The cemeteries at both family churches contain the graves of the children lost during this time. This was proof positive to both families that Elizabeth Jane was indeed a witch and that there was only one way for the curse to be lifted. In somewhat of a truce between the feuding families, they formed a mob and went to Elizabeth's house. They brought her here to this very tree and brought an end to her life. They dropped her into this west-facing grave and covered her up unceremoniously. But before she passed, she said that she would return and that the curse would continue. Sure enough, it did. Neither one of the families could bring a healthy child into the world throughout the whole following year. They eventually decided that the ghost of Elizabeth Jane was working through her sister-in-law, Mary Bradley. So they brought poor Mary here to the same tree and took her life in the same gruesome way. They buried her here. They buried her facing east and gave her a Christian burial because she herself was not a witch. She was considered an innocent victim, supposedly possessed by the ghost of the witch Elizabeth Jane. I don't believe that Elizabeth Jane was an evil witch. I think she was a grieving mother that had had enough. The feuding families that brought all of this pain and suffering upon each other ended up blaming her for their own misfortune. It just doesn't seem right. Nobody talks of her success as a folk healer, and the fact that she certainly saved the lives of countless people on both sides of the feud. They only speak of her as the cursed witch of Tilly Bend. One thing we do know for sure, apparitions are still seen in this graveyard. When standing in the cemetery, you can hear people talking in the woods around here, and sometimes you can even hear children laughing. This is one of those places you don't want to go at night, and if you do come here, be sure to bring a gift for the grave of Miss Elizabeth Jane. Thanks for watching, and for more videos like this, be sure to hit that follow.